Thank you for joining me today. I want to talk about women's of the Bible that was barren. During my morning meditation and reading, I was looking at the great men that came out of a situation like that, that parents was barren and end up having kids, and they became great men of leaders for the Lord. So during morning meditation this morning, we're going to talk about the women's of the Bible that was barren. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to thank you for coming along with me on this journey this morning. God Divine Mystery, where it's all about God. The first one that we're going to start out with this morning, women's of the Bible that was barren. We're going to starting with the book of Genesis, chapter 11. At this time, the book of Genesis, chapter 11, at this time, the whole earth was one language and of one speech. Can you imagine at that time? There were still many peoples, but everybody spoke the same language. Everybody understood what everybody was saying. If you happen to run into a person, whether they from, just say, if they was from America, we could understand those that was from Israel. Or if you was from Russia, we all spoke the same language. But now we can't even imagine that because it's so many different languages in the world. It does not matter what race of people you were, we all spoke the same language. So back to the topic, women's of the Bible that was barren. Just in case you are not familiar with barren, it means, from the biblical Hebrew, a female figure who is unable to conceive. And keep this in mind. The Bible presents all forms of fertility as a gift from God. How many know when you have kids, it's not because you desire or you set in your mind that I'm going to have a kid. No, God give you kids as it please Him. And when we come to understand that and know that, I think we'll treat kids a lot better when we knowing that they are from God as a gift to the parents. Side note, often these biblical women suffered deep shame as a consequence. Their barrenness attributed to some hidden wrong, sin, or flaw. Can you imagine that most people's, just say if you had a friend or someone in your family that had not had a kid by a certain time, or have tried and couldn't have one, many times they think that they had did something wrong against God, that He was hindering them from having a kid. I mean, that's the world perspective. If you don't have something, it's because you done did something wrong, some sin against God. And so He's holding that child, that pleasure, that house, that car, something from you. But see, God is not like human. Whether you do something bad, He still allow you to grow. Because the scripture says He gives to the just and the unjust. So He don't withhold nothing from you. So let that be known to anybody that might be thinking I don't have a kid because something I did. Let them know it's not that. It's just not that time for you. The Bible, back to the Bible. That is the way most humans think. Actually, not the case in God's plan. Time and fulfillment is God's purpose. God work off his timing, his purpose, and his fulfillment. Starting with the great man of God known as Abraham, his wife known as Sarah at the time. And we find this in Genesis, the 11th chapter, the 30th verse. But Sarah was barren. She had no child. And many years passed before God gave Abram and Sarah a baby boy. At this time, Abram was 99 years old. And we find that in Genesis 17:1. Now, and God changed Abram's name to Abraham. How many know when you begin to be blessed by God, he'll give you a new name? Now, Abram's name been changed to Abraham, which means a father of many nations have I made thee. Now, can you imagine talking to God and he's telling you that you're a father of many nations? You're 99 years old, haven't even had a kid, but he's telling you that you're a father of many nations. I'm talking about that's the type of God that we serve, that can do anything. It don't matter how old you are. Because how many know, when you look back in Genesis, most people live to be 500, 700, 800, 900 years. So if Abraham was still young, according to earlier people that lived in the Bible, living 965 years, and you only 99, that's young. But back to the subject of barren. Genesis 17:7, I will establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after thee in their generation for everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. See, God going to make a covenant with Abraham now that the promise is getting ready to be fulfilled, because he got to have a people that would glorify him and do the things that he have given unto them to do, that they'll glorify his name in all things. Not only Abram, but his kids. The Bible says his seed, so his great, even down to us today. This blessing was for us as well. Now God don't only tell Abraham, but let's watch this. God tell Abraham, Sarah, thy wife, don't call her Sarah no more, but Sarah shall her name be called, the mother of nations. You're going to be the father of nations, but now I'm saying to change your wife's name too. Y'all both got a name change. She's Sarah, the mother of nations. You Abraham, the father of nations. Now Sarah is 90 years old now. Look at God. Now Sarah has a son, and God tell her, name him Isaac. See, when God got his hands on you, he tell you what to call your son. He give you the name because it means something. Fast forward now, Isaac is getting married to Rebekah, his wife. Look at God. From father to son. Genesis 25:21 said, and Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife. Look at this. See, when you see good examples in your family and they calling on the name of God, when their kids grow up and they see the father and the mother in the house worshiping and praising God, they'll do the same. Now look at this. When Isaac was having a dilemma and his wife was not able to conceive, look at this. Genesis 25:21. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren. In other words, she couldn't conceive. And the Lord was entreated of him. And Rebekah, his wife, conceived. Look at that. See, when you ask God and talk to him through prayer, God already ready to answer. And because he had already blessed Abraham and Sarah, now he blessing Abraham's son and his daughter-in-law, Sarah. Now, Isaac and Rebekah had two sons, twins, Esau and Jacob. That's chapter 25 of Genesis. Now, the 22nd verse says, and the children inside of Rebekah, they struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. Look at this. See, when you got a husband that know God, his father knew God, his mother knew God, now he married and he entreating, he's calling on the name of God because he wants a son. And he said, now, see, when you call on God, your wife see what you're doing, she's going to do it too because she see the results that you're getting. And she went to inquire of the Lord for her kids that was within her. And look what the Lord said in the 23rd verse of that 25th chapter. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there was twins in her womb. Now, how many know the Jews is considered the chosen people of God? And that was through Isaac and Jacob. That's where we have the 12 tribes of Israel. But how many know everybody else is said to have came through Esau? All the other races that wasn't considered a Jew under Jacob. But knowing this, even though that was a chosen people of God, still he blessed Esau and Jacob. 2 nations right there. And we see it every day in the news, 2 nations. But if you look at the names of those nations that's being brought up on the news against Israel, you'll see that it's traced back to be Esau and Jacob. So at this time, I'm going to cut it, but I have more women's of the Bible that's barren from the Old Testament that I want to talk about. So I stay tuned for part 2 of this series. And I'm going to get to all of the women's that's barren that's in the Bible. And I'm thinking you'll be surprised to see some of the women's that is barren, because I didn't even know. Even looking at Rebecca, I didn't know Rebecca was barren. So stay tuned. We're going to find some new stuff out as we go forward. Like I said, we're going to make it a series. I'm going to come back with part 2 and give you more on the next one. And maybe we'll finish the next one, and maybe not. If not, like I said, we'll continue until we get to the end of it. But I'd like for you to stay with me so I can show you. And we're going to give scriptures throughout the Old Testament and into the New Testament of the names of the women that was barren and the names of the kids that God used to fulfill his purpose in that time, and not even in that time, but even now, still being fulfilled for what God said. So for now, I just want to thank you for following along. Continue to watch for more, and we'll see you on the next one. God Divine Mystery, from the morning meditation, having a talk with God. Thank you.